First. I'm Mark Eichman, along with Nichelle Polson and Shirley Min. When David Michener and his partner Bill were married in Delaware in 2013, he never could have predicted that their union would become part of a U.S. Supreme Court test of gay marriage.
Tom Gordon weighs in on the state of the economy, the heroin education initiative, and several other interesting topics this week on First.
And an update on Haley's voice. 2 years ago, we introduced you to Haley Schreiber, and an electronic voice created to sound like the one she lost. How's she doing today? First, your public media news magazine starts now.
On Tuesday, the U.S. Supreme Court will spend 2.5 hours listening to arguments that could determine how same-sex marriage is viewed on a national stage. Kentucky, Tennessee, Michigan, and Ohio don't recognize same-sex marriage. The Delaware connection to this high court challenge can be found in one of the Ohio cases. And that is where we begin our first look. David Michener and Bill Ives were married in Delaware in the summer of 2013, 14 years after their commitment ceremony in 1999.
April 25th, 1999. This is our commitment ceremony / wedding. And here we are in our younger days.
Although they lived in Ohio, they spent summers in the first state with their 3 adopted children, Anna, Jack, and Michael. They were planning to retire to Delaware for good in the near future. But just weeks after their 2013 wedding, Bill got sick.
Once they got him on the operating table, they found that the bacteria really was eating the right side of his heart. And they had 2 teams working on him. They put him on life support after 18 hours. 3 days later, he died.
As sudden as Bill's death was, David was in for another shock.
Right before his wake, I was informed that there was a problem with his death certificate, and that because Ohio does not recognize same-sex marriage, they're trying to get my name off the death certificate. I was shocked. One, it's my personal business. 2, that's not even the place to really tell me.
David is now part of a court case before the Supreme Court. The case centers on the rights of married couples in states where gay marriage is not recognized.
Do you have a right to have your marriage recognized on a death certificate if your partner has died?
We talked to the ACLU's National Legal Director, Steve Shapiro, about the case.
It's an insult that extends beyond death, right? It is the state saying in perpetuity, right? We don't recognize what you and your partner had.
Here in Delaware, that equality argument has made big gains in recent years, from the first civil unions, which were legal starting in January 2012, to the first gay weddings, which became legal in July 2013. This year, Holly and Casey Clark Porter became what's believed to be the first lesbian couple to be ordained as Presbyterian ministers. We sat down with them at First and Central Presbyterian Church in Wilmington to get their thoughts on the Michener case.
I think this is why we're continuing to fight. I think that some people think that this fight is over, that we gays just need to shut up already, that we've gotten our way, and this just proves that we haven't and that there is work to do.
Liberties should be shared by all, and I believe that marriage is a liberty. And if one group is able to enjoy all the rights and privileges of that liberty, then the other groups should also be allowed 100% participation in those liberties.
For gay marriage supporters, the Supreme Court case is all about making all states recognize the rights currently afforded to gays and lesbians in some states.
No state has the right to insist on violating the constitutional rights of individuals who live in that state. And it was the same argument that was made against interracial marriage back in the 60s when the Supreme Court said the Constitution does not allow states to prohibit interracial marriage. It really is just a replay of that controversy, and I think the outcome should be the same, and I think the outcome will be the same.
For David Michener,
to live it over again.
The case is about honoring Bill's life.
It's for him and my kids, and for everyone out in Ohio and the other states that don't have equal rights. This is for him. This is for my children to realize you got to take a stand for what you believe in. That gives them the opportunity to say, hey, you know what? Daddy did this for Daddy Bill. Maybe I can make a change for somebody else.
The Supreme Court will hear arguments in the case in Washington on April 28th. David plans to be there along with his children so they can see what they feel could be a historic argument.
This case indicates how widely state laws vary from one state to another and how gay couples are treated. So obviously, Ohio authorities don't want to be forced to have to recognize Delaware's laws.
Right. It's basically part of it is a states' rights fight that the Supreme Court will be deciding and considering. Unlike Delaware, Ohio has an all-out ban on same-sex marriage. One Ohio state representative went so far as to call for the judge who ruled initially in David Michener's favor to be impeached for what he called, quote, an epic display of arrogance. So we asked Governor Markell, since David and Bill were married here in Delaware, what he thought of the case, and he sent us a statement. He wrote, "No person should ever be denied rights based on who they love. No spouse should ever fear of dying single simply because their home state doesn't recognize their marriage." He went on to say, "My thoughts go out to David in this difficult time. I'm proud that in Delaware we have shown a commitment to making our state a welcoming place for everyone to live, love, and raise a family." Governor Markell also went on to say that all Delaware marriages should be recognized across the country and that he was hopeful that the Supreme Court will stand for equality of all married couples under the law. And of course, we should reemphasize that no matter what happens in this court case in the Supreme Court, Delaware's status recognizing same-sex marriage won't change.
Okay, so what's the time frame for ruling in this case?
So the hearing in Washington is April 28th. The justices should issue their ruling sometime in June.
All right, thank you so much, Mark. We'll be following that ruling on newsworks.org/Delaware.
Coming up on First, cerebral palsy once claimed Haley Schreiber's voice 2 years ago. She got it back. An update on how she is doing. And we could use a little music in our First Experience segment. Check out the amazing harpsichord session later in the show. Newcastle County Executive Tom Gordon is our first person this week. He's on set. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
It's always great to be here with you, Nikki.
Oh, that's good to hear. So you released your budget last month. No new taxes. It seems fairly modest in terms of growth. Do you wish you could have included anything else, any other projects?
Well, if I had, I would have had to do a tax increase. And this is my 12th year or 10th year as county executive, and I've never raised taxes. And right now is the worst time to raise taxes. I don't know if you saw The Economist, we're the last state in the union in wage growth.
Yeah.
And we've lost so many major corporations that people are struggling from all over Newcastle County. So it certainly wasn't an opportunity I had. So I had to bring a budget in without a tax increase, and that was the challenge.
You're right in terms of it's tough for many people, so much so there's a big push across the country for $15 an hour, a wage increase. You're certainly a big supporter, maybe at least $10 an hour. Right. Do you or have you received any pushback?
I have not. And when you're talking about $15 an hour, ours is $10, but our people have benefits that usually equate to more than half of that. So what has happened in this country is we've lost the middle class. It truly is the biggest between the haves and the have-nots in the history of our country. And if something isn't done, it's going to, I think it's going to be in the end of capitalism, and it's going to be a real serious problem in this country because people are not going to put up with them. They just don't understand how much the middle class has been lost since they deregulated and they allowed the reduction by Reagan of the taxes on the wealthiest has just eviscerated. They thought it was just trickle down. It's not trickled down. It's trickled up. So now you have a very small percentage of people getting all the money, and you see people like you see symptoms like the city of Wilmington all across this country where we're losing everything.
So what will it take, just curious, what will it take to get a wage increase in the state of Delaware?
The state of Delaware is facing tremendous losses in everything between the sheet money, their gambling, their personal income tax. They're in serious trouble. It would take an initiative by the governor. He's facing a multitude of problems since he's taken office almost.
Yeah.
He has been presiding on these trade agreements which took everything out of the country and the corporations which have taken over. So I don't want to speak for him. He'd have to put a priority on it, and he's got multiple difficulties. But look, it was Henry Ford that said, you know, if I pay my people $5 an hour and make them wait, they can buy the cars they're making. And it worked, and it would work here. But our problem is bigger than that. The corporations are running the country, and the people are not. Our Senate and House are filled with millionaires, and they're the 1%ers.
Well, moving on to another subject, part of the Newcastle County 5-year plan you released a few months ago, you called for improvements to the Port of Wilmington. What's the next step? When will we see something start?
When you look at what we've lost, and we're right now looking at whether we're going to lose DuPont, but we've lost 2 automobile plants, we've lost a steel plant, we've lost everything in the city from electric hose and rubbers, all the places where people could go that maybe didn't have a college degree. I had a study done my first month, and it said there was a couple opportunities, Delaware City and the river, the port. You've got to expand that port, and we've been trying for 2 years. It really would take the state of Delaware to get behind it and make it happen. And I don't think there's any other opportunities left where you can employ thousands of people at good pay rates. I think it could begin to turn around this spiraling out of control state of Delaware. It's spiraling out of control. And if we've got food deserts all over, the food cabinets in the city of Wilmington are being, it's just not good news. And I'm always a doom and gloom guy, but I tell you, I know finances, and I know public finances for being around so long, that unless you do something of that magnitude, it's only going to get worse, which is going to result in we're the homicide capital of the world right now in Wilmington, and that's a largely result of opportunity and financing and no jobs and the school situation. Something
that you've been passionate about as well. Let's talk about the heroin education campaign.
So we've created a program that says there's no way out. It's a scare factor, it's a fear factor. Try to tell these kids, if you go to a party and somebody puts a powder substance in front of you, it might be brown, white, whatever, do not take it, because it literally changes your DNA, I'm told. And that drug has teeth, and you will be forever wanting to take that drug again. And the success rate, I'm afraid, is not very good when you're addicted to heroin. But we're taking some criticism that it may be too tough and there's no way out. But for these young kids that are taking it, a lot of them don't know what they're taking, we want to be tough. We want to scare them.
Well, sure, it'll be tough, but I think the good part is pushing education, trying to get people, make them aware so that they can know.
So hey. It's a $500,000 ad. We've got games on Xbox. You see it advertised on all the major channels. And we're about to get some early reviews in to see how we're doing. I'm afraid we're still losing, and it's embarrassing. I walk up to County Park, and you see the glassine bags all over, and I would like to be able to tell you next year we've made a significant decrease.
Have about 30 seconds left. I want to get your take on politics. Are you ready to jump on the Hillary Clinton for president bandwagon, or are you waiting for Joe Biden to announce?
Well, certainly if Joe Biden announces, I'm with Joe. I went to Iowa for a month and a half with Joe Biden. So I would have to say I'd have to wait for Joe, and then it would be Hillary, certainly.
Okay.
The rest of that group scares me because you know, it's going to be a speech from some Republicans going to say our best days are ahead of us, 1,000 points of lights, we will bow down to no country. And then that'll be the end of our world, because we don't have much time left before the corporations in this country totally dominate.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. I'm so grateful that you allowed us to pick your brain. Newcastle County Executive Tom Gorton, once again here as our first person. Thanks.
WHYY has a webpage dedicated to FIRST. Just go to WHYY.org/FIRST to watch this show whenever you want. Past shows are there right now. Our e-newsletter comes out next week. Sign up and you can find out what WHYY is doing in Delaware.
2 years ago on First, we met a 16-year-old Smyrna girl, Haley Schreiber, who uses an assistive device with a synthetic voice to communicate.
We haven't heard her voice since 2006, and it was amazing how they were able to capture some of the quality of her voice.
Carolyn Beeler of WHYY's Health and Science Desk and The Pulse was there as Haley became the first patient to get a new kind of personalized voice. And Carolyn is here now with an update. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, Shirley. So that's right. That original voice was made by Dr. Tim Bunnell at Alfred I. DuPont Hospital for Children using Haley's vowel sounds from Haley's real voice.
The Vocal ID project, it was called, and allowed us to get that voice samples from Haley and actually impose it on the speech of another child whose normal speech we recorded.
And we were there with Haley the first time she heard her new voice.
You ready, Haley? Let's see what your voice sounds like.
This is Haley's voice.
What do you think?
Do you like it?
This week on First, we visit Haley and Dr. Bunnell again to see how they're doing now 2 years later. Haley is 18 years old now, and she is still using the new personalized voice she got 2 years ago.
It's been wonderful for her. When she goes out in public, she sounds pretty much the same as other people around her.
I love the Phantom of the Opera.
Haley's at a new school, the HMS School for Children with Cerebral Palsy in West Philadelphia.
It'll be 2 years this September that she's been here. And she's doing fabulous here. She's really soared here.
Using her new voice, Haley even asked a date to the school's prom in May.
So, do you want to go to prom with Haley? Yeah. Yeah.
One downside of Haley's assistive device is that it breaks down frequently and has to be sent away for weeks for repairs.
Can I have $10?
Now, the personalized voices that Tim Bunnell makes are available on Microsoft, Android, and Mac tablet computers, which could help solve this problem for future users.
You can take your iPad to the Apple Store and get it fixed. If it doesn't run on your iPad, you may be able to install it on your iPhone.
The day we visited Bunnell's Wilmington lab, he gave a personalized voice to the third patient since Haley, 10-year-old Katie Hassel.
My name is Katie Hassel.
Katie has a rare genetic disorder that makes it hard for her to articulate.
I use my iPad.
Her mother hopes her new voice will help her communicate at school.
When she gets excited and she talks really fast, the intelligibility goes way down. So I'm hoping with this device, if she's having trouble with a word, that she'll be able to type it into her predictable app and use her voice to then say what it is that they were having trouble with.
This is my baby cousin, Hunter.
Katie's voice sounds smoother and more natural than Haley's for a few different reasons.
Two things. One is simply that we've continued to improve the fundamental speech synthesis technology in the last couple of years. So all of our voices now sound a little bit better than they did 2 years ago.
The other difference, Bunnell is now using speech analysis to model the vocal tract of the patient before building a new voice.
Unlike what we did with Haley, we have now created recordings that sound like the target speaker before we ever start the process of converting them into a synthetic voice.
Bunnell used samples of Katie's brother's speech, then modeled what his voice would sound like coming out of a shorter vocal tract.
It's not the Siri voice, that all the kids are used to hearing. It's not that stock voice, it's her. So I think that's really cool.
Debbie Schreiber says she's hoping to work with Dr. Bunnell again soon to update Haley's voice to make it sound smoother and a bit older.
So, Carolyn, he's only given this new voice to only 4 patients, including Haley, over 2 years?
That's right. It's a very slow and painstaking process to build these new voices, but he is hoping to launch a clinical trial soon where he hopes to recruit 20 new patients with cerebral palsy to study how these voices impact them.
And what is he studying in this clinical trial?
He's hoping to determine scientifically to be able to show and measure if there's actually a benefit to having these personalized voices. So if it makes kids more willing and interested in communicating and improves their literacy because they're more engaged in their voices.
Okay, thank you so much, Carolyn. Stick around for a couple of more minutes, though. You can listen to Carolyn's reporting on WHYY-FM 90.9. She's part of the team on The Pulse. You can hear that broadcast Fridays at 9 a.m. and again Sundays at 10 a.m. Now, one of the projects underway on the Pulse is something that we call Price Check. It's a really ambitious effort to understand what medical procedures cost, and we need your help to do it. Here's Mike and Scott to explain.
Hi, I'm Mike and Scott, host of WHYY's The Pulse. Thank you so much for helping with WHYY's Price Check. Together, we can take some of the mysteries out of medical bills and help people avoid paying too much for procedures. Medical bills can be overwhelming and also pretty confusing. But you know what? We can do this. All we're looking for is 3 key pieces of information. So let me show you how we can find them. Here's a typical form from one local insurance provider. It's called an explanation of benefits, EOB. This is what you get when an insurance company paid for at least parts of your care. Or if you paid for your care directly, you'll be getting a bill from the provider. We can use either one of these to put information into Price Check. First, we're going to look for the code of the procedure you had done. Then we're going to look for the name of the provider or the hospital where you had the procedure done. And finally, we're going to look for the price. On the explanation of benefits form, look for this column, which tells you what part of the overall price you had to pay yourself. On a bill, look for something like this column. Now you're ready to tell Price Check what you found. You type in price charged, price insurance paid, and price you paid. Finally, you click on the I agree box to let us know you're okay with us making this data public, and you hit the share what you paid button. Then your data is in the Price Check system. Be sure to check back occasionally so you can see how much other people in our region have paid for the same procedure. That's it, a couple of minutes, and you've helped promote transparency in medical billing. Thank you so much for helping out. I'm Mike and Scott. See you on the radio.
Carolyn is back with us, and this is such an interesting project, Price Check, because nobody ever knows how much procedures cost, and it's impossible to ask, it seems. So what have we learned so far?
Well, we're just starting to get information from people, and we found that there's a huge variation in medical prices in our region. For example, one person that reported data to us paid $800 for a colonoscopy, while someone else paid $8,000.
That is just the Philadelphia region.
Yes.
Are there other procedures that we would like to know more about?
Well, we'll take any data that people are willing to share on any medical procedure, but right now we're focusing on imaging. So MRIs, X-rays, mammograms, things like that.
And what happens to all of that data once the project's done?
So it's already online now in a searchable database, so you can go online and sort of shop around for some common medical procedures if you want. And we're partnering with a company called Clear Health Costs, which is going to continue to manage that searchable database even after we're done with reporting on the project. So it'll be up online for a while.
Okay, well, has anybody listed maternity procedures yet? I don't know. Okay, well, I will get you those price numbers shortly, because I'm going to have that information soon. If you want to contribute to our Price Check survey or check out what others are saying, you can go to whyy.org/pricecheck. Thank you so much, Carolyn Beeler.
Thanks, Charlie.
Did you know Wilmington is home to one of the largest collections of antique and playable harpsichords in North America? They belong to the Flint collection and date from 1570 to 1779. First Experience heads to the barn at Flint Woods to listen to this unique collection and sound.
This is my collection of antique harpsichords and clavichords, and there are now 11 harpsichords in this collection, ranging from one that was made in 1570 is the earliest one. But the latest one is 1779. You have to make sure that the case and all the working parts are good, so that the soundboard is good. The jacks and the keyboards work well. But you also have to do painting restoration if there's paintings involved in it. Even the Maker's Rose, which is found on the soundboard, Sometimes they're made of tin, sometimes they're made of cut paper, and those you sometimes have to restore.
The quality of restorations has really improved in the last 10 years. And the instruments that we have now are these amazing antiques. I mean, this one was built in 1627, and it works as if it came off the factory floor yesterday. You know, it's just perfect, in perfect working order, but with this extraordinary tone quality that comes from being, in fact, nearly 400 years old. This collection is really unique in North America because not only do you have instruments of so many different kinds, each one is completely different. The number of keyboards it has, how many notes on the keyboard, what are the strings made of, that completely affects the sound of the instrument. So you have to learn to play differently with each instrument. They say they find it very moving. The harpsichord never ever shouts at anybody, it only ever speaks. As players, we have the privilege of being able to participate, make music with them, and communicate their beautiful sounds to the audience sitting in the same room with us. So it's really a restoration of something from the past that gives us pleasure today in the present. The instruments are the stable point in all of that. We're just ephemeral.
There's just something wonderful about, there's a singing quality to them. I think playing on them is just wonderful, and I think that for musicians, the joy is in playing them. I hope for audience that the joy is in listening and being able to see them.
You can experience these instruments for yourself this weekend with Harpsichord Heaven. The concerts take place at the Barn at Flintwoods in Wilmington. You can get more information at brandywinebaroque.org.
Next week on First, the summer tourism season is fast approaching. We'll update that along with Delaware's push to get more visitors from out of state to come to Delaware. And a sneak peek of our May special that we're calling the 100-Mile Monument.
It's actually a sneak peek at Shirley's vacation plans. She and the family will be driving down Route 13 to take in the sights, right? No, maybe? Tune in, you'll see. That is First for this week. We thank you for watching. For Carolyn Beeler, Nichelle Polston, and Shirley Min, I'm Mark Eichman. Have a great week.
Carly and I went to the Justin Bieber concert at Wells Fargo Center. We were so excited about the concert. My name is Haley.